Okay, it says that I'm live, but I don't trust that.
Test on your phone.
It says starting, okay. Let me do this. Okay. Return to YouTube Studio. I don't want to return to YouTube Studio. What I want to do is I want to know, okay, if anybody's here. So, for those of you watching this in the future, hey BookTube, it's Sylvia. Hey BookTube, it's Sylvia. Please leave me a heart, smiley face, or emoji down below to let me know that you were here. Today, we are doing something new. I am trying to go out of my comfort zone and give you something worth watching. Now, I don't know if this is working, so first, I have to check, unfortunately. So thank you for being here while I do that. Oh, okay, there's one person here. Hi, one person. If you could just let me know that my microphone is working and everything, that would be spectacular. And then I will do, I have to share this.
You can check your microphone output on OBS.
Twitter. Alright. You said I can check my microphone. It says that it's working.
Yep. You should see the bars moving.
So is that, okay.
So it's working.
Alright, so it's working. It says 2 people are watching. I don't see anything in the chat. Folks, come say hello so that I know who's here. And, alright. We're gonna get started. I am tweeting right now. Come join, no. Come hang out. Yeah. Come hang out. Boom. Tweet. I'm trying to do 3 different things in this video, so it's going to be pretty overwhelming. It's going to be a lot going on. Let's see if this works. You should be seeing my face in the corner, and then you should be seeing my coloring book. Alright, I want to move the live chat up so I can actually see it. Sorry for all the maneuvering. I will get used to doing this as I begin to stream on a regular basis. But for now, this is what we have. So, hopefully there's not much of a delay. We are going to talk about books. We are going to color, and we are going to review some teas. So while I wait for my friends to come join me, sweetheart, could you try to say something in my chat room just so that I know that it's working? Thank you, my love.
Where's the link?
On my Twitter.
Can you just message it to me online?
I will try. Okay, so I'm opening up my Goodreads to get ready to talk to you about the books I've read. Oh man. But we also have to review some teas. So, as I wait, we're going to start with Sips By. So, Sips By is kind enough to send me teas once every 2 months, and then lately they've also been sending me like their specialty boxes. I absolutely love this subscription box. I'll put some links below. I think if you put like Wish5, WISH, the number 5, you'll get some sort of discount on it. But I heart them. This time I'm going to be reviewing the April teas, and I have 3 other boxes to review, so those will be coming up next. I have all 4 of these teas ready for me on my right. It took me a really long time to set up, so they're probably all cold, but I'm very excited to review them for you. We're going to start with Dandelion Caramel Nut. So that's this one. Um, it is by, oh dang, who's it by? Ticino?
7:15.
I don't know if I want to just, okay. It says made with organic herbs, a swirl of sweet against roasted almonds. I really, really love almonds. So I'm excited for this one. Let's see what I think of it. I've put it in my Black Widow mug for all of our enjoyment. So let's check it out. Oh my god. Automatically it reminds me of coffee. So it's dandelion caramel nut with roasted almonds, and it says medium roast. It definitely reminds me of coffee, like hardcore. Dunk the bag several times in the beginning. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Oh, I could have added a little bit of milk to this. This is pretty cool for like a coffee substitute. I would like to add, next time I have it, I'm going to add milk. But you can definitely drink it on its own. It definitely tastes like nuts. That's so bizarre. It's like drinking water that's flavored nuts. I guess that's essentially what's going on here. I don't hate it. I can't imagine that I would want to drink this every day. But as a cute little treat, and I think this will definitely taste better with milk in it. It's not too bad. Definitely out of my comfort zone, which I enjoy. Okay. So that one's alright. Let's see, is anybody here yet? Somebody say hello to me, please. While, let's take a minute. I'm going to talk about a book while I color. We're going to color a dragonfly for skill, agility, and enlightenment today. And we're going to review a book. So let's see where I ended last time. I think the last book I talked about in my previous wrap-up was A Man and His Cat. So today we're going to talk about The Wrath and the Dawn. I'm going to try to stick to more of a format this time. Since we're talking about The Wrath and the Dawn, let's start with the color red. That'll be fun. I hope everybody can see this okay. Hey Karen! Thank you for joining in this very relaxing wrap-up in which I am coloring. I have absolutely no physical artistic skill, so you will be watching me color much like I imagine a 5-year-old might color. And it'll be fantastic. So I read The Wrath and the Dawn. In terms of representation, I really can't comment. I don't think anything was too... I mean, I can't remember anything harmful in terms of how women were portrayed. Obviously, it's kind of an interesting fairy tale, or is it a myth? Fairy tale? Folk tale? It's an interesting retelling. There's a lot of nuance that is needed, and I was worried about how the author was going to handle it. But then in terms of just how the women were represented, which is the only thing I can speak to, I liked it. Especially the lady in waiting. Is that even what I can refer to her as? She was a unique character that was very important to me. And in the second book, I guess I'll review... Oh! Lost the cap. I guess I'll review book 1 and 2. Thanks, Karen. I'm glad you like the dual setup. It's my first time doing it, so I'm pretty nervous. It's like a little out of my comfort zone, but like, look at the quality of my channel. I'm growing. So in Wrath and the Dawn, it was very important to me for that lady in waiting to be handled well. And in the second book, I was so nervous. The author definitely played with me, which I enjoyed, you know, because it was like touch and go. Something happened with that character where I was like, how dare you? But it went okay. So what's my second question? Reader health for Wrath and the Dawn. I don't remember anything particularly harmful. It was, it's the kind of book where it was really big on BookTube in the beginning, and then everybody just kind of started talking shit about it, and, you know, BookTube in 2014 was a ride. It was a very different experience than it is now. So, for somebody like me who joined in 2014, at this point I just have to read the books and kind of decide for myself. I'm usually not a decide for myself kind of reader because I believe that the connections that you make with other reviewers in the book community, and not just in terms of networking and being reviewers, but also like friends, I think it's important to listen to others when they review things, but Wrath in the Dawn, there was nothing important that people discussed about it that I know of. You know, it's definitely possible that I missed a thing or two. But I think it's very important to listen to your friends when it comes to representation and reader health. Not so much like general opinions about plot, like whatever. This is stressful. It's stressful to talk and color at the same time because I want to color it nice, and I don't know if I can do that while talking because talking is my first like focus. Don't make fun of me on my stream. Sorry, my partner's laughing at me. Like straight to like I can hear you.
No, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing because it's entertaining. It's
Oh, because I'm entertaining. That's why you're laughing.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Eris, eat your heart out.
Thanks. Anyway, I'm gonna become the biggest, most popular streamer ever. Thank you very much. With my tea reviews and my book reviews and my coloring that a 5-year-old could do better. So, my third question is, did it teach me something or make me think? No. So let's just move on. So, A Wrath in the Dawn, it's definitely more of a, and I'm noticing this a lot because I've been reading a lot of SFF lately. So with science fiction and fantasy, there's a lot more room to analyze the plot and the characters and the technical writing and the world building. Not that there's not usually something deeper. For example, I also recently read The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, and like that book is amazing on all fronts. But something like A Wrath in the Dawn and books like it are really not harmful, and they're just entertainment pieces, and that still makes them worthwhile. I had a very, very good time with this novel, with this duology. I went from one to the other fairly quickly, and I cared about the world. I cared about what was going on. I think my favorite character was actually the king, which was weird. I really wanted his whole story to be handled well. Now, do I like the way it was handled all the way? No, not 100%. I don't think it was perfect or riveting. There were some things about it that just seemed, you know, convenient, but still, you can suspend disbelief. It didn't feel cheap. It didn't feel like the author thought we were dumb. Nothing like that. It was just a fun story for what it was. I think I gave it 4 stars, so it's a little bit better than I'm making it sound. I'm going to give this heart red. I'm going to color this heart red. That's going to be so cute. So what I usually do when I'm coloring is sometimes I go from like one color to another, and sometimes I just pick out all the colors in advance. But today we're going to wing it. So we're just going to start off with red, and then when I feel like it's red enough, we're going to switch to another color. So, in terms of plot, characters, writing style, Wrath in the Dawn was just like a solid entertainment piece. I really liked it. I feel like I would recommend it right now, at least if you're looking for some fantasy, I guess maybe escapism, because it was a good time to be in that world. And it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And it's the kind of story where you really don't know where it's going to go, which is fun. So I read that. Then I tried to read This Is How You Lose the Time War, because I'm getting into science fiction, and this came highly recommended as like an easy start to science fiction. And I couldn't read it. Like I couldn't. it's not that it was difficult. I don't feel like it was too complicated. You know, now that some time has passed, I feel like I'm definitely going to give it a second read, but the first time around did not work for me. Sometimes I've realized that with significant pacing in books or just like unique writing, it takes me a couple of tries to get into it, but I can always tell. When I pick up the book, I can tell whether it's a me thing or just the book is bad. Um, and this was a situation in which I think it was a me thing, and I think if I take some time and dive into science fiction and fantasy a little bit more, well, science fiction, fantasy I've always been reading. That's not something I'm new to. I think this will be a book that I will pick up again and enjoy in the future. Karen says, personally, I was kind of disappointed by The Wrath in the Dawn because it set itself up as a revenge story, but then it threw it out the window for romance. Yeah, I mean, I went into it knowing it was going to be romance. I think that if I went into it thinking it was a revenge story, I would be very disappointed. But, you know, again, because of the time it came out and all the reviews that I saw of it, I knew that it was a romance. And it is a strange situation. Like, I don't feel completely satisfied with, like, why the killing was happening and then, like, why it suddenly stopped. These are things that sometimes we have to, like, suspend disbelief in order to get through the rest of the book. Let's review a tea. Hopefully one of these is still warm. I don't know. The next tea I want to review is one that I felt so cool making. This is, wait, where did my menu go? This is Original Chai by Chico Chai. It looks like this, with the way they sent it to me. And it has how to brew instructions, which was super cool. I had to, like, use a little pot and follow steps and stuff. And I made chai tea the hardcore way, which is so cool. And I'm going to try it now. So let's give it a shot. First of all, it smells amazing. It smells so good. And I put 2% lactate milk in here and one little packet of stevia, which I put somewhere here to show you. Whenever I don't use sugar, I use stevia in the raw 0-calorie sweetener. I do that because as a fat woman, people tell me that sugar will kill me. I don't know how true that is, but sometimes I'm also a woman that's very anxious. So I've decided, like, you know, might as well use stevia because people say that this guy's sugar is out to get me. How true that is, we'll never know. Oh my god. Oh, that's so lovely. A lot spicier than I expected. For me. For my unrefined palate. I mean, it tastes like chai. A little spicier than the chai I'm used to. Kind of wish there was more milk in it. But I will drink the whole thing. It's kind of awesome. It was more fun to make than it is to drink, though. And I don't want to end this on a bad note, so I saved one that I'm probably going to love. Actually, these next two I'm probably going to love. So let me talk to you about Churchill's Fine Teas. This is African Sunrise Green Tea. I am a huge fan of green tea. I don't think there's anything too interesting to share about that. And I'm drinking it in my Mjolnir mug. It's actually not mine, it's my partner's. I stole it. Oh, it smells amazing. Oh my god. Oh. Oh god, I love green tea. It tastes like, oh shit, what am I tasting? So it's sencha green tea, raspberry, lemon, and rose. That is a wonderful combination. So Churchill's Fine Teas, African Sunrise Green Tea, 5 stars for sure. I love this one. Definitely spilled some, but that's fine. Oh my god. I don't know what else I can say about it. Like, tastes good. You should try it. that was a win. All right, so we can take a pause. I'll get to the 4th one in a minute. Let's review some more books. So This Is How You Lose the Time War is a book that I'm going to read in the future. So again, I wanted to start off with some sci-fi for beginners. So I picked up Flowers for Algernon. Oh my god. Flowers for Algernon. I thought it was really cool that there's like a type of science fiction that this is, according to Wikipedia, you know, the source of everything. I learned that it follows a certain subgenre, which not a lot of books in that subgenre are written, from what I saw. And it's basically about like intelligent beings heightening the intelligence of other beings. So in this situation, I guess it's written as though the protagonist is intellectually disabled, and then they undergo a procedure and they become increasingly more intelligent, which changes how they view the world. You kind of follow along with the protagonist figuring out what's going on around him and how people treat him. A lot of it, I feel like the most intense parts of it are watching somebody with intellectual disability getting just like hardcore mistreated, and you as the reader know it, but the protagonist doesn't know it yet, and then the protagonist learns it, and then the protagonist unlearns it, and I feel like all of the reviews I read about this book talk about that element of it. And because I am a therapist and because I work with developmental disabilities, it's just something that I'm aware of, you know. I'm aware of how people with developmental disabilities and really all disorders and disabilities are mistreated by the world. So it wasn't something new to me. So I probably had a bit of a different experience with it, not too much, but I can't imagine what somebody who doesn't know anybody with intellectual disability or developmental disability or developmental disorders, I can't imagine what another reader would take away from it. I just imagine that it's a simple work with meaningful messages. I think it's a worthwhile read. So whenever I've heard of Flowers for Algernon before, you know, it seems like an intimidating classic, but it's extremely easy to read. If you're thinking about getting into sci-fi, or if you're thinking about reading something that's like a little bit more popular and more known, I do recommend it. I thought it was worth reading. There were some things about it. Maybe I don't know if the ending. It's not that I didn't like the ending. It's that there was only certain ways the book could go, and I wasn't blown away, I guess, by it. But again, I'm sounding a lot more harsh than I was. I'm pretty sure I gave it 4 stars, if not 5. Probably 4. So in terms of representation, I felt like it did a good job, but I'm only speaking through being a therapist. And that's another thing, I'm always a little, because I know that we're very into like own voices reviewing on BookTube, and sometimes it gets a little challenging for me, because while I might not be an own voices reviewer for some topics, I'm still considered professionally an expert on certain topics because of my schooling and my profession, and my experiences with various individuals and populations. So that's always interesting for me, because I feel like there are a lot of topics that maybe I haven't personally experienced, but I still feel like I'm entitled to having an opinion about. That's something that I would love to hear your input on, because it's just something It's just something strange, you know. There's not a lot of I mean, I guess there are a lot of booktubers that are experts in their field, and I feel like their opinions are valued, so I should probably just assume that it's okay for me. But it's definitely a conversation that I'd want to have with those of you who are my friends, especially, just because it's something I think about. So, Flowers for Algernon, representation fine, reader health fine, education, I did not learn anything I didn't already know. Writing style was so much fun to see the changes in the character. For those of you who are fans of like various types of formatting or like different grammar that you get to know the characters from, the writing of the protagonist does change from the beginning to the middle to the end. Those kinds of things are fun. Personally, I really like those kinds of, what do we even call that? I'm just going to call it formatting, writing formatting types of things. Characters, plot. Some of the plot gets like a little, like, how do I put it? It was necessary, but it wasn't like too exciting. Like it gets to the point where I guess like a lot of older novels, they have to start kind of making their points very clear before the close of the book. And those parts were just kind of like, I kind of could have skimmed through them, but the book is so short, you barely spend a lot of time in those moments. And in terms of entertainment, I was entertained. I don't regret reading it. I feel like I was very wrong to be intimidated by it. I thought it was going to be like a hardcore, difficult read. Are you laughing at me again?
No, I'm arguing with my friends who think that Charlotte Flair is the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Oh no.
They're wrong.
Not today, not in this house. Okay. So that's Flowers for Algernon. Okay, next. I picked up Split Tooth by Tanya, I want to say Tagak, but I totally did not look up how to pronounce their name. That is so when you look up the synopsis and like information about the novel, it doesn't actually explain whether it's fiction or nonfiction or a mix of both. Like it kind of seems like everyone who read it is confused, including the publisher, because even in the synopsis, I think it's like, is this real? Is it not real? It is about a young woman coming of age in the 70s. She is indigenous in Canada. And it just felt like the kind of story that I've already read a million times, about kids being, you know, ferocious and growing up and thinking and talking about sex and smoking cigarettes and kind of messing with each other. Just the kind of stuff that it wasn't anything new for me. What I did think was cool is in the audiobook, the author is a throat singer, and that part was phenomenal. Oh my goodness. I think they're actually known for their throat singing. It's really, really cool. It sounds cool, and when you listen to audiobooks on like 2 times speed while you're driving, it was absolutely terrifying. But still very cool. So I liked the experience, but as somebody who reads a lot of nonfiction, sometimes, you know, people's experiences kind of start sounding the same. Not to make it sound less special or less, less worthwhile. Like every memoir is wonderful and every person is wonderful, but they're not always going to hit the same, especially if you've read the themes before, because just because it's a memoir doesn't mean it's like written in like streams of consciousness. You still have to have themes. You still try to get certain points across, and for somebody like me, I've read those points many times. But do I regret reading it? Absolutely not. And if you're interested in reading it, go on ahead. I support you in all of your endeavors. So next, I read Of Fire and Stars. So like I said, lately I've been reading a lot of fantasy and sci-fi. I've realized since I started coloring that the best way to get through a sci-fi or fantasy novel, especially the long ones, is to color. So that's what I did with Of Fire and Stars. I picked this book up once before and I couldn't get into it, but I knew that I would give it a second try eventually, and I'm so glad that I did. Also, I was going to have you guys pick the next color for me, so if you want to do that, whoever picks a color, I'll use that one next. For representation, Of Fire and Stars has FF romance. It's absolutely fantastic. I mean, I don't think they follow any labels. Nobody identifies as a lesbian or bisexual or pansexual or queer because it's a medieval time in a different world. The romance is everything. It's slow burn, not hate to love, but like annoyance to love. And they become friends, and it's just like you're following them on this ride, and it's so lovely. I would say the representation of that was fantastic. And I mean, I think it's extra important that Of Fire and Stars was able to accomplish this because I feel like it's one of the first books, at least in my corner of BookTube, that was like, hey folks, you like fantasy? Finally, here's some girls that fall in love. That's exactly what was advertised, exactly what we asked for, and exactly what the author delivered. So, that was very, very worth my time. Hey! That's how it is for me with cross stitching. It helps me visualize the sci-fi fantasy worlds and concepts. Yeah, I think any long book especially, but fantasy and sci-fi specifically, it helps me focus. Yeah, so how you say it helps you visualize. For me it helps me focus because I'm a very anxious person and I do go off into other things. So the coloring is actually helping my reading tremendously. I strongly recommend it. Of Fire and Stars. Representation, great. Reader health, phenoms. Education, not so much. Writing style. So it is very dense. And again, this is something that, why I had to pick the book up twice. So at first it was like I was trudging through it. Also, I need a second color. So let me think what I'm going to do. I always like to mix like a dark red with like a light green or a light blue. I feel like I mix it with orange a lot too. And yellow. I'm trying to do something new, but there's only so many color combinations. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do mermaid blue. That's what we're going to do. So the writing was dense and slow, so I had to come back to it later, and I'm glad that I did because I absolutely loved it. In terms of characters, I loved, absolutely adored the two protagonists and their points of view. The audiobook narrators sounded so similar that sometimes I had to like triple check whose chapter I was reading, but the characters themselves are significantly different in their personalities and traits. I did like the friendship between Mare and her pal, or her ex really, because they like were together for a while and then they broke up and then they were best friends. That was cool. The one thing that bugged me was the brother, the prince. Like there was only so much room in that novel to do everything, so I'm not like too critical about it, but he was a character of convenience sometimes, and ultimately I am happy with the way he was handled in the end. But getting there with him was disappointing at times. And I know that like, so I'm an only child. I don't have siblings. I was raised pretty close with my cousins, but I don't have to share my parents with anyone, so that is something I will never totally be able to understand. I mean, I can try to, but and I am aware that siblings don't always love each other or don't always hate each other, and that it's a relationship that has a lot of nuance. Um, and I really like reading about family dynamics and things like that. So I felt like there was a lot. Oh, sorry about that. It's my phone. Um, I felt like there was a lot that could have been done there. A lot that I wanted to be done. And in the end, it ended up well, but it could have been better. And that's like me trying to speak vaguely as to not spoil for anyone because I would like you to read it. I suggest purple next. Okay. I will use purple after this one. Thank you very much for that. So we have plot, characters. No, I didn't go to plot yet. So for the plot, I mean, it's a lot to do with magic. Um, I like elemental magic very much. As a child of Sailor Moon, I grew up with Sailor Moon, and I mean, I don't even know if that's what it is, but elements have always been my thing. I'm also very into astrology, Avatar: The Last Airbender. Elements are my jam. So that was handled pretty well here, with appropriate twists. I think that the thing that we need in fantasy books, and that's been happening for the past few years, is that every YA author, especially, is making sure that their book is just a little bit different from the last book of like similar qualities. So I was happy with the way that the magic was handled here. I'm always sad to read books where magic is like outlawed, um, which is, that's kind of cool that I kind of get into it emotionally because I feel sad for the people who do use magic and scared for their lives. Um, but all of that was handled well, and it was entertaining and fun and just a little bit unique, which is all we can ask for, I think. Whew, I've been talking for 37 minutes. Damn. I thought I was going to come on here and not have anything to say. Look at me go. So, entertainment. I was entertained, but again, this was the kind of book that I had to pick it up once, get to know it, put it down, come back to it like a year later, and I could only read it because I was coloring. Otherwise, it would not have happened. Oh dear. Oh, I wasn't ready for this one. Oh, I don't know what I did. I'm still here? Okay, good. The next book I read was The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. I am probably the last person in the world to read this book. I tried to pick it up last year, and I guess because of all the hype, I didn't expect the storytelling to be the way that it was. So I needed to put it down, and I thought after the incredible experiences I had with The Wrath and the Dawn and Of Fire and Stars, I was like, now that I'm into this like pastime that focuses me pretty hardcore, I think I can finally read The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet and give it the respect that it deserves. So I picked it up, and I mean, I'm just a statistic at this point. Everybody friggin' loves that book. It's the thing that, okay, let's go step by step. Representation, phenomenal. There's so many conversations in it about the differences between people, and the author basically uses science fiction as a way to have metaphors about representation in our real life. For example, the one part that made me cry was Sissix was at the market and she saw this woman, and I don't want to like tell you the whole thing, so I'll just be very vague. But basically, I felt like it was a metaphor for autism, and it was so beautifully done. And even if it wasn't a metaphor for autism, and it was about something else, that whole scene and how the author is talking about real life, not just fantasy, but using fantasy as a way to portray it so beautifully, I was blown away. The what is that series even called? Hold on. Long Way. It is. Oh, I don't know. I don't know what that series is called. The Becky Chambers books. Um, is so beautiful. It deserves all the hype. I definitely would warn those of you who are like plot driven or need fast pacing or anything like that. Like it might take a time or two to get used to it, just like it did for me. But it's so absolutely worth reading, making the time for. I thought that it was going to be a series following those same characters for several books. So when I finished it, I was just like, yeah, I'm going to get like a million more books with these wonderful people. I love them so much. They're my heart and soul. And then I, looked up on Goodreads that the next book doesn't follow them, follows one of them. And I can't like explain to you the level of devastation. Like I've been in fandom my whole life, I'm 32, so I basically grew up on the internet. I have I don't think I've ever been so heartbroken to find something out about a book. The fact that these characters, like that I'll only see them again as like cameos and that they'll never like be a part of my life again, that I'm not going to be able to follow them. I can't tell you how devastating that is. It's probably the biggest upset of my entire reading career. I just loved them so much, and to think that I will only get to see them in canon in that book and as cameos is absolutely heartbreaking. Like I feel silly saying that. I've just never, like, I'm sure there's things that I've cared about in fiction before, but this, I was absolutely devastated. Like, there's no other word for it. When I found out that the sequel wasn't even really about them. Oh gosh. Anyway, I've dissociated from it now. So representation great, reader health great, education, I don't know. I don't think I really learned anything that I didn't already know. Um, Writing style very slow. You basically follow the characters on like a daily basis. Maybe every once in a while we'll skip a week or a month, but we're kind of in it with them. Um, there's all these little moments. It's really just like kind of a slice of life of all these people. I think about Sissix molting all the time, specifically this weekend. For those of you who know, will know why. Um, it's just so charming. Characters, obviously, this is the book anyone, if you ask them for a character driven work, they will recommend this one. But I think aside from characters, the world building's pretty stellar also. The author is very skilled. Um, there's just so much in it. There's a lot more in this series, but in this book than I expected. And it's worth everything everyone ever told you. Plot, there isn't much of one, but there is kind of a series of events that occurs, a series of heartbreaks for me, and I guess some other readers as well, I bet. Um, Thank you for coming. I hope you had fun. I think I'm the last person who hasn't read it. Oh my god, you have to read it. You have to read it. But thank you for coming. For those of you who are left, I will be doing purple next. And my goal was to do this for 1 hour, but I don't know. I guess let's still shoot for that goal. And if you guys have any questions for me, anything else that you want me to talk about, I will gladly pause my wrap up to answer those for you. So, a long way to a small angry planet. There's barely any plot, but there is a sequence of events. Some pretty horrendous things happen to the characters, like that's part of the sequence. And they kind of handle it. And it shows you the strength of the human person. And it's sweet. It's charming. And then we talked about writing style. Entertainment, obviously, out of this world. I didn't want to finish it. I was sad the closer and closer we got to the ending. And I already have the sequel ready to read ASAP. ASAP. I already told you I read The Rose and the Dagger. Pretty Girls! Oh, shit. Oh, God. So I read The Good Daughter by Karen Slaughter, and then because of my friend Maggie, for my Aquarius astrology project thing, she recommended that I read Pretty Girls. Pretty Girls was a ride. Let me tell you, like, The Good Daughter was... It's got nothing on Pretty Girls. And the reason for that is because the author picked an interesting topic, which is that of the snuff film. Now, if you don't know what a snuff film is, you should find out. It's a very interesting topic for sure. I first learned about it when the movie 8mm came out when I was in high school with Nicolas Cage. And also, snuff films are mentioned once on Friends by Phoebe Buffay. But other than that, I had never, ever seen the topic mentioned in a piece of fiction before. So that's probably the most interesting part of this novel. The cool thing about both of the Karen Slaughter works that I've read so far, which were The Good Daughter and Pretty Girls, is that in both books, there's been like a strong familial relationship, if not sisterly relationship, that was pretty great. So in terms of representation, women are portrayed well. That's definitely... And the funny thing about Karen Slaughter is she will make fun of feminism in her narrative and through her characters, while at the same time having heavily feminist themes in her book. I still really don't know what to make of that. I guess maybe she's like one of those women that doesn't realize she's a feminist, which I don't know. I don't. It's 2020. Like, people gotta wake up. But in terms of representation, the sister Lydia is in recovery, and it's probably one of my favorite depictions of recovery. It does get a little murky later on because the antagonist uses Lydia's recovery against her, but I still kind of feel like it was done in a believable way and it wasn't too harmful. Too harmful? I don't know. I feel like it wasn't harmful. So that's for representation. Let me think. Reader health. So Karen Slaughter's works are definitely violent. There's a torture scene in this one, specifically with waterboarding, which again added to the pizzazz of the novel. So this is the weirdest thing about tragedy porn for me. This book does tragedy porn well. Shitty things happen in it, but they're done in a way that it's consumable. Is that fair to say? It was an entertaining work. I'll give it that much. Did it cross the line sometimes? Maybe, but it did not compare to a lot of other extremely harmful works of tragedy porn that I've read in the past. So sometimes books get a pass from me just by comparison to books that were worse. And again, entertaining. For a thriller, the thrilling part, I guess, was that I cared about the sisters. I cared about them winning, I guess. I cared about the topics discussed because they were interesting. I cared about the bad guy or bad guys getting caught. But it was very predictable. And for somebody like me, I like predictable thrillers because I like to feel like I'm the smartest person in the world. and that helps. But I can see somebody else being disappointed in that. So for those of you who need your thrillers to be super shocking, I mean, I don't know, like, I feel kind of like if you have a thriller about snuff films, that's like shocking in and of itself.
8 o'clock.
But it's a topic that I'm not unfamiliar with. So it didn't shock me, it just entertained me. So reader health, we went through representation, education. Did I learn? There was some stuff to think about for sure, but I don't know that I learned. Karen Slaughter, so far in the novels, always like includes something where you're just like, damn, she must have done this in her life before she was an author, because she knows a lot about this topic. Not about snuff films, not about snuff films, but like about like stuff lawyers say and like other characters knew things, technology and FBI and like just stuff that like I had to sit back and be like, huh, she really did her research, or she's really making this very believable for me. Now I have 3 purples. I don't know which one's gonna look good with this. We're gonna take a shot in the dark. Okay. Let's see. I think maybe in terms of books we'll stop there. But I do have one more tea to review. So let's review this one. Okay. So these tea drops I've gotten before. They are Rose Earl Grey this time. So I've only had the green tea ones before and I loved them. And this time these are Earl Grey organic black tea with all this other stuff in it. So I have a feeling I'm going to like this one. I put my 1 little teaspoon of stevia in it. And I think it's going to be a good time. Already it smells good. Yeah, that's pleasant. Oh yeah, that's very light and sweet, but the stevia is probably the sweet part. This is the kind of tea I would give it like 4 stars because I could see myself drinking it. Like if it's available, would I ever seek it out myself? I might, just because it's kind of soothing. Yeah, so that was a win. So we had 2 wins. I really liked the Rose Earl Grey and the African Sunrise Green Tea. The Dandelion Caramel Nut was like, this is cool, but like, what? And the chai was fun to make, but I think it would taste better with some more milk. So that's great. I did my Sips by review. I think I'm supposed to talk about Book of the Month too. Shoot! Well, I have some time, so let me get up here a little. So Book of the Month was doing that whole YA stuff for a while, and then they decided to stop. So now all of those of us who were YA affiliates, we're just getting Book of the Month books. So I think they sent us 1 last YA book, so I picked this one, Patron Saint of Nothing. It's pretty. And I have a feeling I'm going to like it because I've seen some of my friends on BookTube read it and they liked it. So that's one. And then Book of the Month also let me pick out an adult novel, and I picked out A Good Neighbor by Therese Ann Fowler, and I picked this because I read the one with the tree. Shit. I forget what it was called. But it was the one that all of us read back when it came out. With the tree and the brother and sister and the stuff about the little sister. So I will be reading those and reviewing them. Prior to that, I got the Becky Albertalli one, which I posted a photo of my son, my kitten son, for Valentine's Day. Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, so thank you for joining me. I will make a couple more videos like this. I hope you enjoyed the coloring. Let me know if you did or did not. Please leave me a heart, smiley face, or emoji down below to let me know that you were here. And come talk to me on Twitter. see if I can turn this off.